are going live in 3, 2, 1. Check the feed real quick. Looks like we are live. And I want to welcome everybody back. This is OccupySFTV. I am CIA James from Occupy San Francisco. You can find me on Twitter at Occupy1Liberty, or you can email me at Gmail, Occupy1Liberty@gmail. This is Odessa and Rick joining me here tonight as co-hosts for some topics of discussion, politics, religion,
whatever comes up.
Whatever comes up. And I do know that Rick had some things that we wanted to get to, some important topics that he thought were crucial to communicate to the masses.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, I was wanting to start with drones.
Drones.
This was actually the first state that allowed aerial drones to fly over.
Here in Oklahoma.
Yeah, domestic drones, and right now they're trying to arm them with non-lethal ways to suppress masses.
Non-lethal. So
now, are these different from the drones they use in warfare in any way, or have they just?
They're not armed yet, but they are trying to arm. These are pretty much the similar models that they're trying to use, which they're trying to use it in conjunction with the police force, which goes against posse comitatus, the fact that the military is sharing its knowledge with the police force and back and forth. That was actually put into place, I believe, to quell any kind of chance that we would become a military state.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of goes across that line.
No, I know that they've been developing chemical and biological agents that they can use.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure how far along that is.
Yeah, we officially dropped our biological warfare in the 70s, but as you can guess, it really hasn't stopped. I mean, it's just kind of gone underground, so to say.
Officially means the government isn't telling you they're still funding it. It's basically all it is.
right. Exactly. Go ahead and continue on if you guys don't mind discussing. I'm trying to multitask here.
Oh, yeah, that's fine.
Go ahead. I'm listening.
Yeah, it's Germany's trying to get a drone army going as well, and it's really been the hallmark of the administration militarily lately is drones. It was kind of used under Bush, but it's proliferated over Obama, and it's what it kind of does is anesthetizes war. It makes it to where people that play video games or watch violent movies, they can go in and learn how to control these things and watch it blow up. Well, I mean, recently they had one that shot a kid that was sitting in a cafe, I believe. He was 16 years old, and he had returned from the United States to wherever he was. I believe it's Syria, one of those places that's really in turmoil right now. But, I mean, it anesthetizes war. It makes it easier for people to kill other people, and that's my major concern. Because you're not up front seeing the guy that you're shooting at. You're not up front,
It depersonalizes it, kind of like the application system now.
Yeah.
Where you send electronically and somebody looks at your stats and...
Yeah. I mean, you could argue that it's a safer form of warfare for our side at least, because not as many soldiers are getting injured or killed, but also in the long run, wouldn't it be more psychologically damaging to the person?
It's definitely, it'd be psychologically problematic because you killed people, but you weren't really there to see it, or you weren't really there to experience it in the same way. I don't know, it'd be really weird for me to experience that. I've played violent video games and things, but to actually do that to someone.
Like,
and watch.
I think most people know the difference between video games and real life, but still numbing yourself to that kind of killing, I can't really see it as positive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if they start, you know, hitting people with these non-lethal weapons from these things, and they will probably move to lethal weapons eventually. I mean, it's a quantitative easing of the populace. It's, well, you accepted this, so now we can go a step further and we can do this, and now you've accepted that, so we can go a step further. And when you kind of, it goes against our Constitution really, just to, you know, hit someone with a stun gun or whatever from that far away and not even read them their rights or anything. You're not even.
Well, speaking of stun guns, I mean, I'll digress onto another topic real quick. The use of tasers and things like that. We've seen abuse of that weapon by police officers and other such type people that are supposed to be the people that are protecting us. And now I recently saw on the internet there was a handcuff system that they have that it's a barred system that has electrodes on it that they can remotely detonate a, I'm not sure what the pulse is, but it's, you know, probably something that's paralyzing. So, you know, 500,000 volts or whatever it is.
I think this is going to continue to happen, and it's only going to get worse until we reform the police system, because it's been transformed from a system that protects people to a system that earns revenue for the state. They're
Or
paid
local area,
to,
whatnot.
yeah.
Right?
They're paid to pretty much collect taxes upon the citizens. And it's not a tax that, you know, you pay when you go to the store and pay sales tax or anything, but it's a tax pretty much for, well, you went 5 miles over the limit here, and pretty much everyone knows you get a 5-mile cushion when you're driving. But in some of these small towns, they don't even give you that. They just, you know, you're 2 miles over the limit, you're getting a ticket.
Yeah, and I've heard that, you know, a lot of times what they'll do is they'll give you a ticket because you have an out-of-state plate or something, because they know that you're not going to come back from whatever state you're in to fight a ticket for $50 or $100. You know, they're just going to collect the fee.
Yeah.
So.
And that's not all police officers. It's just the establishment of the police force.
It's a policy,
Yeah.
not a law enforcement. It's a policy to make money.
Yeah, I mean, they'll throw out the case, but you still have to pay the court fees.
Right,
Mhm.
right.
Yeah.
Right. We did digress a little bit. We were talking about drones and the warfare that it's used in either here in the U.S. Or abroad.
Yeah.
And then you had several other topics I saw that you wanted to talk about. I'd like to get through a couple of them so that we can at least, you know, get people going on what is important to the general public.
Yeah, the hot button issue right now would be guns, of course.
That is a hot button, definitely.
People are really worried about it. And, you know, I used to be on...
So Second Amendment.
Yeah, yeah. And it has... It's really been upheld pretty much all throughout our history. There's a couple cases where, you know, it didn't.
Second Amendment. That looks like peace or victory. The Second Amendment. You wonder why they put that in there like that.
Mm-hmm. Why they put it second? Yeah, I mean, it's...
Well, your first is the right to free speech and the freedom of press.
Freedom of religion, freedom to petition, freedom to protest.
In which all have been suppressed from what I saw at the Occupy movement in San Francisco. The police force would use any means necessary of local law enforcement code or policy to disrupt the public gathering. As well, I did see there were infiltrators. Hold on a second, R2. I did see there were definitely infiltrators, people that would come in and say things to rouse
Provocateurs.
Provocateurs. They were there
and
and
agitate the crowd.
Right.
So that they could claim self-defense. They could claim that they were rioting, which is simply not true.
That is one example. And let me give you a direct example, something that I personally witnessed, which was we were at Bradley Manning Plaza, which formerly known as Justin Herman Plaza in San Francisco. It's right there on the Embarcadero. That's where the base camp was for the occupation when it was in its prime, when it grew beyond the Federal Reserve in front of 101 Market. It moved down to Bradley Manning, and when we were down there was a General Assembly, and somebody said, the cops are up at 101 right now. They're going to be taking all your stuff if people don't get up there and get their stuff. Well, I, being on security detail, ran up there real quick, checked to see what the situation was. There was nothing going on up there. Nothing. I went back down, and that person had vanished. The security detail, which was not really what I would call a security detail, but they tried. Didn't really notice or recognize the person where they went, or they more or less vanished like a fart in the wind. So there was a bunch of people scrambling around trying to figure out what was going on, and that's just that right there is minor.
Yeah.
In comparison to the things that they really do. Now that was just, something to throw people off, so that the conversation was distracted, so that there was disruption in the process.
Trying to separate them and get them to focus on their
Divide and conquer.
Yeah, exactly.
And people, we had a great discussion going on that night. Definitely. But anyway, like I said, once again, I jumped in, I digress.
No, you're fine.
You were talking about
guns.
Guns.
Why they're important to what we have. And I've been on the other side of the fence. I've been on the left side.
okay.
I'm not really conservative or liberal or whatever these
So,
titles
do you
are.
own a gun?
Do I? No, but I would own one in a heartbeat if
Right.
I thought I needed it. I just don't need it. I don't hunt.
You- You don't feel the need to kill another
Yeah.
living being.
Yeah, but I do believe in everyone's right to have one. Just
Okay.
like, with abortion, I believe in people's right to choose.
Well, let me ask you this. If people were, and I'll ask both of you, we can take turns on the answer. If you had the choice between defending yourself and your family, say in this home here, and somebody coming in and imprisoning you or taking you to a torture zone, would you fight back if you had the opportunity with a weapon, or would you just relinquish the weapon and choose the slavery and the servitude, imprisonment? Which one would you choose? I mean,
Well, it depends if it's a matter of it's just me or if it's a matter of my family. Because if fighting back will put my family in danger,
okay,
then personally I'm going to go with them because
okay,
their safety is more important than my own.
okay,
And I know that if it ever reaches that point, the government's trying to ban assault weapons, which I'm kind of on the fence about. I don't know if it's a good or a bad thing, but the fact is the Army and all of its divisions will still have those weapons, just the people won't have them.
right?
So if it ever gets to the point where people are being imprisoned and tortured like that in their own country, then we are going to be horribly outgunned. And you really have to think about other people's safety,
Yes, that's true, especially when it comes to children.
Yeah.
I want to say women and children, because I think women are just as strong as men
Yeah.
in every form. As an adult,
Yeah, there's
mentally and physically, if a woman was in threatening danger for her life and her child, you would see that woman knock down amazing feats to accomplish their survival.
Yeah, there's actually a case of a woman recently here in Oklahoma. She was defending her two children, and two guys tried to break into her house, and she shot and killed them. I mean,
She used a weapon. She
Yeah.
used a firearm. She wasn't afraid.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you have to do if that's something that happens. If it's between the lives of the people that are there and the people that are trying to come in and kill your family, I mean, that's a no-brainer to me. You have to fight. But in the case of the military, you're outgunned. That's why it's really important not to ban assault rifles.
Right.
That's why the Constitution
Now-
has that in there, because it's there to protect the populace from a military takeover.
Yeah, what you have the right. The people have the right to form a militia to defend themselves if necessary. Now, does that mean that people should be able to carry their guns with them everywhere they go?
Well, are you asking me?
Yeah.
We lost the
I don't-
camera.
You're
Oh.
right. Thanks for keeping an eye on that. We'll be right back. I'll fix the feed. That should be coming right back, folks. Now, to answer your question, I think that if, like you look at it this way. If everybody carried a gun, what are the chances that you're going to pull a gun on somebody that has a gun? Not likely. Now, to me, I don't have a weapon, a firearm. I don't feel the need to carry one because I don't feel the need to kill another human being or any other life form for any reason. I can sustain my survival off of everything else that the Mother Earth has provided us without killing. There is no need for that. In self-defense, I would choose self-defense because I think that my own life is as important as the next. And I think that anybody that is defending themselves and others has that right, especially here in this country. And let's take the word especially out. Anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter where you are.
Unfortunately, they banned firearms in a lot of countries, and that's the beginning of the
No-
police state.
Nobody owns that right.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in my opinion, you can't own a human, you can't own a seed. You can't own the right to choose who has guns and who does not. You know, and speaking of guns and military, you had a topic on there on your list I saw that was about Germany training up. Now, do you think that the U.S. military would invade the United States or take control or martial law if there was a martial law implemented here in the United States? Because I personally do not. I think the military would, or the military would be circumnavigated and used elsewhere, and the United States would be controlled through a military force of a foreign regime.
Yeah, like NATO, UN.
NATO, any one of their forces, they'd be like, hey, we've got a problem in the U.S. or the United States government, whatever, the traitors would say, we have a problem here, the people are at civil unrest. And I guarantee you that if the people are at civil unrest, it's right now is because they put it out on the news. Because what do most of the fucking zombies watch? The news. Fox, CBS. Oh, wait.
That's not news.
MSN.
Well, that's entertainment. You know, they look for the killings. They look for the only thing that's news on there maybe is the weather, but they're not even right about that.
Yeah.
And the reason they're not right about that is because they don't know what's going on because they're only told so much. You know, we have chemtrails that affect the weather. There's HARP that affects the weather. If you think that we do not live in a technology age that can't, you know, change what's going on, then I think that you need to look again.
Yeah.
Definitely. But you were talking, I saw there was, we were going to go on to Germany?
Yeah, Germany is actually trying to arm a drone army now. They have the most.
Germany?
Yeah, they have the most money in the EU.
Germany has the most money in the EU.
Pretty much. I mean, they're the big players. They've helped bail out Greece, and they've helped all these different bailouts that they've had. It's hard to keep track of over here because our news really doesn't cover it that well. You have to go to alternative news, and I've been looking at alternative news stations and getting as much as I can from it. But yeah,
Okay.
apparently Germany.
I find that foreign and international news stations are better,
Mhm.
even if you have to get them translated, because sometimes you do. Most stations
Yeah.
are not in English, and it really provides a more accurate perspective on things. And but with Germany and their army, I don't see how that would be an immediate threat to the U.S. unless the UN was given access to this. Unless they share that technology with the EU. And has there been any hint of that happening?
Well, like, a big thing is they've already started controlling our food supply. It's through Codex Alimentarius, and that's pretty much a document that supposedly supersedes any national constitutions. There's a lot of evidence that NATO and UN, they want to, how do I say this? They want to help depopulate the world.
Well,
Because they believe that there's too many people on the world.
have a constitution that establishes people's rights firmly, write something that's supposedly more powerful than that constitution.
Yeah.
And
It's really hard to get so many countries on board with the same thing, but at the same time they can do that. And so, I mean, yeah, there could be talks about how do we fix this problem, but right now the problem is the people that are running things, which isn't really NATO and the UN at all. It's IMF, it's the World Bank, it's all these people that are, you know, the big banking cartels of the world. They run these.
The central banks.
Yeah. And then that with the military-industrial complex, like Eisenhower talked about.
Central banks like the Federal Reserve.
Yep.
which is not legal.
Yeah.
No.
But
it,
at this point,
it was secretly implemented.
Well, yeah, it's happened twice in our history that I remember.
Actually, if you look, I shouldn't say actually, from my research or from the information that I've been given, you can catch some documentaries like Zeitgeist or Thrive. They go into details of it, especially Zeitgeist.
Yeah.
1, 2, and 3. The addendum and what's the third one?
Yeah.
If you look up Zeitgeist, you'll find it. It specifically details the Federal Reserve and how it was implemented, and how it's illegal, as well as the 16th Amendment, which is what?
The 16th. Yeah, it's rather.
Taxation of
Yeah, it's taxation. It's the
labor tax.
Labor tax, and it's the income tax, whatever you want to call it, and that's. Most of these things came in under Wilson, and Wilson had really good intentions. But like the League of Nations, which is the beginning start of what NATO would become later on.
Right. It was the League of Nations and turned into.
Yeah, they kind of went defunct, and then it became NATO and the UN.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that.
And you wonder why we have a failing system after 100 years, because they planned it out for 100 years, because that's about a lifetime of
You know.
Illuminati,
Yeah.
or I mean, for the most part, they live 80 to 100 years. Any human lives 80 to 100 years for the most part these days, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
pretty
unless
much.
I take that back. If you're living on the streets,
Yeah.
you're probably not going to live 80 to 100 years if you haven't had the education and you can't get a job, and you're living on the streets either because of the problems with society accepting you for the way you are and actually giving you the opportunity to have a job and fulfill your destiny, or your dreams of being an American, part of the society and the pursuit of happiness. You know, I mean, what we have now is a slave labor system where we work to survive.
not even that, because
Not
we're
even-
paying them.
Oh, that's right. We're
We
paying them
pay
to
to live
die.
No.
Because
we
the
pay-
pharmaceuticals, we pay them for the food. Okay, go ahead. You
No, okay. I mean, I think it's kind of funny that we pay to live on a planet we were born onto, but that's beside the point. If we are, like, people actively give every penny they earn back to the people, so we're not getting any. we're not getting anything. We're paying them to poison us, which is what they're doing.
Yeah.
And
Aspartame is one of the big things that people drink a lot of now. It's diet soft drinks.
I never drink diet anything. I never drink anything that, if I don't understand what's in it, I'm not going to eat it or drink it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to find out so I know what it is they're trying to poison me with. And I think people have been conditioned, I mean, I know they've been conditioned to believe that what these companies are doing is in their best interest, but these companies are only interested in helping themselves, and they have basically bought out, and they're all run by the same organizations who have the governments in their pockets and get them to do whatever they say. And no matter how well-intentioned any leader we put forward is, they're going to be inducted, they're going to be sucked into this corrupt system, because they do not have, one leader does not have the power to change this. So nothing's going to change until we reform the whole thing. And that's not what we were talking about. I apologize.
No, that's okay. Feel free to digress anytime. That's what the show's about, is talking about what's on your mind, what you feel is important, and going with the feeling of what you have to say. You know, that's really what I want, is for you to talk about what you feel. You know, I mean, we're all regular American citizens. Some of us are veterans. Some of us are teenage students in high school that know better than the politicians. I can't believe
I had
that
a good mentor.
the politician you had a fantastic mentor.
I still do. I still do every single
You still
day.
do. Absolutely. You have a fantastic mentor. Definitely. Which we could talk about Charles if you'd like, but what do you have on that list?
What's next on your list? Yeah.
Well, what I was going to add to your point is,
Uh-huh.
and something we haven't touched on at all that's in the drinking water, is fluoride.
Ah, yes, we could definitely touch on the fluoride.
Yeah. It's,
fluoride.
Yeah, it's terrible.
You think it's
stuff.
good for you?
No.
Another cancer-causing agent, right?
Yeah, neurotoxin, cancer causing.
Neurotoxin. Oh, wait, you mean to tell me that causes, like, Alzheimer's?
Yeah, it can.
Really?
That's
That was just a guess. I mean, I've studied a little bit into these kinds of things because I've been around natural homeopath, natural medicine
What
for
people who
quite a few years now. My ex-brother-in-law, he is a naturalist, a tree hugger, a granola eater, and a wonderful guy. And I learned some things from him, and fluoride was one of the things he talked about, which was bad. He did talk about Monsanto, and this is 10 years ago.
yeah.
10 years ago, he was telling me about this, and I was like, yeah, whatever, you know, kind of like half anarchist, half Democrat. Wait a minute, what?
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure. I was kind of on the line. Like, I wanted to fit into society, but I was kind of an anarchist. Now I've decided that it's anarchy, you know. And anarchy doesn't mean no law. Anarchy means caring for your family and those around you, you know. And when you see wrongdoing, you step in and you make right.
Yeah.
And that doesn't necessarily mean with violence.
I'm actually a little bit interested in applying socialistic tendencies to that, and I think people tend to get socialism and communism confused. They are not the same thing.
Okay.
By any standard.
And the difference would be?
Socialism is now.
I mean, you don't have to get too detailed. Just break it down. Like, socialism is.
It's a very, I think it's difficult to explain.
Well, let's see if Rick has an explanation, because Rick's pretty good at definitions.
Communism is more about following the state at all costs.
Okay.
It's everything is state owned, and that's kind of the way works in socialism. I mean, it depends on what type of socialism you're talking about. Like, if
Yeah.
you're talking about laissez-faire, where people are more, you know, just, it's community-based, but it's not actually the state owns everything, you know. They have socialized medicine and things like, there's whole different breeds.
There's a variety. It's like having having Catholicism and Christianity.
Yeah, yeah.
And then
Protestant
variety
in
of
there.
yes.
Yeah, so I mean it's really difficult for me to explain it properly because there's so many different ways it could go. But communism's very particular.
Oh,
It's
and the camera went off.
Camera went out. I'll get it back.
it's,
We're back.
Kind of with communism, they kill every tendency. It's like religion gets destroyed, everything gets destroyed, and everything goes back to the state.
Everything is under the power of the government.
The party.
The party.
Okay.
Whoever's in power at the time.
Yeah.
Right?
No, socialism is somewhat similar. It does have a heavy government influence, but what it does is, well, I know some of the Canadian political policies are based off socialism. The Japanese political policies are based off socialism. And they are very successful and very stable. Now, that does not mean that their government is looking out for their best interest. But I don't think we should rely on one form of political infrastructure or one form of economic structure or anything like that. We need to create something new. We need to make something different from any system that is currently
Yes,
in
and
place. And
I agree. I don't mean to interrupt. I just thought of something that I haven't mentioned in quite a while, which was the Venus Project. Now, I don't like promoting other non-profit organizations and people that already have money, but I think that it's a great idea. The Venus Project. You can look it up online. It was taking place down in Florida, I believe, and it's a society of people, or the idea is a society of people that work together. They, I can't explain the whole thing. Look it up, read it yourself. They work together, they grow their own food. It's a self-sustaining system without money. You work, you get provided for, period. Now, let's say you can't work and you're, I'm going to use the word retarded, specially enabled. Okay, now you can fit into society to some point, and then there's other things that are going to want to be careful of. So, you know, I don't want to say that they're special, that they need to be specially taken care of, but you treat them like a human being, and you give them a place in society, and you let them feel like they're providing something, and you give them the opportunity to move to wherever they want to go to. You know, I mean, there's gardening that can be done. There's anything that has to do with the home. You've got cooking, cleaning. What else? There's trash. There's all kinds of things that need to be taken care of.
a lot of work needs to be done.
You know,
we tend to
just general maintenance.
We tend to marginalize anyone who doesn't think or act the way we do, partly because we're afraid of them, and you know.
I'm not afraid of them. I think they're very intriguing, very, I don't want to use a Chinese curse, but they're very interesting. I think that it's really neat that somebody that's so different just tries to fit in and wants to feel like they fit in and are part of society, and they want to contribute. Every human wants to contribute, no matter your level of intelligence.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And if you don't want to contribute, then, you know, you got a fishing reel, and I'm sure you can take care of yourself.
Intelligence, you know, it isn't necessarily determined by your ability to communicate with others in society.
Right. Okay.
Amen, sister.
Jen's back.
Get in here.
Come on in.
That's all.
We've got plenty of room.
Contribute.
Anyway. Where were we at?
I don't know. No, where were we at?
I was gonna talk about.
We digress.
Yeah,
Off
no,
to a new
yeah.
subject.
Okay.
I was gonna talk about guns again, actually.
Guns. Okay.
Well, what happened?
We're gonna talk about guns.
Oh, guns.
What
You sure,
happened
yes?
is they went to, and this is the ATF and other government agencies, they went to gun businesses, gun sellers, just dealers, and they went to gun shows and bought out a lot of guns in Arizona. And then they went across to Mexico and gave these guns to the cartels there and actually helped arm them. A lot of these guns were actually found at murder sites where the cartels had murdered people.
And this is the first time the U.S. government has armed our.
I wouldn't say the first time, nor
Yeah,
the
I was
last.
trying to be sarcastic about that.
And by first time, we mean
but-
they have been doing this since they were.
Forever. But yeah,
By meaning that we've armed Al Qaeda,
as the
and,
Mujahideen against the
uh,
Soviet Union.
we have armed just about many of our enemies, just as the English have, as far as financing both sides of the war,
Mhm.
so that they can basically
Because war
make
brings,
their own money off of
war brings
their own
profit.
money.
They supply their enemies, and then they use that.
It has nothing to,
start a
do
war.
with us, by the
And-
way.
Well, I mean, what they were doing here in Mexico, they were giving these guns to the cartel, and what they would tell people is, well, we're trying to actually trace these guns up to the top of these cartels and catch those guys. But, I mean, these guys have arsenals. These guys have thousands of people that work for them. They have tons of money. They do not need these guns that these guys are bringing in. It didn't work that way at all. It stayed in the lower people's hands, and they used them to murder people. It was called Fast and Furious.
And they didn't just make a movie about it.
It's funny how movies have a tendency to follow CIA or some sort of special op title, and then you see movies. Now, if you look back in the past, you might see a movie here or there that the building gets brought down by a plane or something. It's funny how they've brainwashed the public into believing things, or just kind of going, not even believing, but going, oh, it's the terrorists, or oh, it's the communists, oh, it's the communists, oh, it's the terrorists, oh, it's the Jews, oh, it's
it's
the
a-
Muslims,
Oh, it's anyone who isn't exactly like us.
It's conformity.
The-
They're trying to conform people, manipulation and control. Manipulation and control, divide and conquer.
And they know what's going to happen. What you have to understand is this whole system that we have built, that the politicians have put in place, was built to fail.
Okay, James,
Yes.
we were talking about this earlier, about how, the founding fathers of this country,
Uh-huh.
they came up with a system, and they came up with the system because they did not want, they saw England, and they saw how the monarchy was corrupting their system so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So they were like, okay, we don't want to be a part of that. We're going to flee the country, and we're going to go find another land where we can build something where people can have freedom.
Yeah, that was the idea. It was supposed to be corruption-free and positive and revolutionary and
Evolutionary.
evolutionary. Yeah, I apologize.
That's where we're at now.
But
It's
it
almost
went,
the same word.
it became
in-
corrupt very
in
quickly,
some-
partially because of the displacement of Indians.
Yeah.
The founding fathers, Thomas Jefferson being a very prominent figure,
Mhm.
like most people of the day, viewed Indians as inferior savages who were living on their land and taking up their space. And although that was a commonly held view at the time, the fact that we willingly made treaties with the Indians and then broke them and displaced them repeatedly showed that we held absolutely no respect for them, and that disrespect was carried out into other policies that we had. So it just sort of spread like,
A wildfire?
no, more like a mold or an infestation
Oh.
of pestilence underneath the government, which had early on a lot of very well intentioned people running it into to sort of an infestation. And now our government is basically a condemned house,
See, now, your
and
idea...
we're still trying to live in it.
This is the view
Right.
that we're
See,
capturing
And she
of
calls it...
today's youth.
Right. Well, she calls it an infestation, like a mold, it's like a slow growing. Now, to me, it's a wildfire, because in the concept of time, you're, let's say, 20. You're almost 20, and I'm almost, well, I'm 40, over 40. So that's a 20-year difference plus. And now I'm seeing humanity as being able to survive maybe 100 years a person. And we've only been around for so many thousand years. And in the blink of an
100.
eye, humanity is gone, because 14.7 billion years or whatnot, 14.7 billion years has the universe been around. Now, to me, a couple hundred years or a few hundred less, plus or minus 100 years, is a wildfire in my eyes, because...
Okay, well, flashback to what I was getting at
Go
is
ahead.
that the founding fathers of our country, in quotations, the United States of America, you know, they had good intentions. They wanted to escape the oppression, and they, you know, the ideals that they hold are what we are wanting to hold now, and that we are trying to form now. The ideals that they hold were not bad. They were wonderful, and they upheld freedom and humanity, and you know, things, the ideals that they held may not have held up to the test of time, just as cycles do not hold up to. So just as, you know,
Well, I
you're
mean,
helping,
no,
you're
it's
helping.
what's happened with that is, well, Jefferson, yeah, he had slaves. These guys, Washington got rid of his slaves pretty early, and then I think they stuck around. But so you could say, yeah, things were tainted. You kind of have to take the good and the bad with the founding fathers, because Jefferson, yeah, he did have slaves and he had all this stuff, but he did put into action separation of church and state. He was really big on separation of church and state.
Amen, brother.
And that is one of the greatest foundations of our nation. He also wrote the Constitution, so I mean,
I know
Right.
Jefferson wasn't he did believe in God and Jesus, but he didn't
Deist.
really believe that he didn't take the Bible on face value. He's like, well, some of this is obviously not true.
yeah, that's
So
deist.
I guess you could say that. I mean, but everyone back then had pretty strong beliefs.
Well, what was going on right then? It had just been the Enlightenment over in Europe, and there was people that were coming up with new philosophies for how Christianity and religion could relate to their life. Deists really believed that God, there is a creator, but there's not a God that watches over the world and meddles in the affairs of mortals. It's left to them and their reason to choose their paths in life.
Mhm.
Yeah, so yeah, exactly what you're saying. That's a big movement at that point in time, and I think that with a lot of the founding fathers, you have to also look at they were rebellious. They rebelled against the United Kingdom. Then it was England, but so they were.
Oh, it was the British Empire.
Yeah, the British Empire, the British colonialism going on.
Which is who are the wealth that are in power of the British Empire, and who are the British wealth that have been in charge of the empire before America was discovered?
Well, I mean, who was in power? They had corporations and the British Empire, the East India Trading Company. I mean, a lot of these people.
They portray that in movies.
Yeah, I mean, Jefferson warned people about corporations taking over the government.
And you can see they portray how evil and corrupt they are, even in comedy movies like Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah.
These are the things they warned about when they formed the Constitution.
Like, do not allow
So you mean
this because
they foresaw this?
yeah, they knew that eventually the government would become corrupt, which is why they built clauses into the original
To
Constitution
watch for these things.
and to keep amending
But
it
the thing
and
is
delay it from happening, but more importantly to allow the people to revolutionize the government whenever need be. And it's
Well,
there.
Exactly.
When necessary, we are
rights.
here for that reason. But now, the thing is if you take... Now, let's say the Constitution, for example, is a card game. And I go like this in a card game, and I go like this to you guys. And you see my cards. Okay? Okay, I'll show you all my cards, right? All right? Now, there's my card right there. All right? Bradley Manning. That's an ace in the hole. Now the thing is they will take that ace in the hole, and they will discard that.
Shut it down.
No, I'm in Vegas. We take the ace in the hole, Bradley Manning, and we discard it. It's no longer of value. It has no purpose. It has nothing to do with the game anymore, except for what we know that it was discarded, because we know Bradley Manning. We know Aaron Schwartz. We know these people. We know SEAL Team 6. You know, these people have been murdered.
Yeah.
You know, Osama bin Laden was a fucking, like a Joker card that you throw in a game that's for fun, haha.
He's the boogeyman.
But the thing is he's not anything.
Yeah.
All he is, I mean, you mean to tell me that some guy in a cave
The middleman.
10,000 miles away ordered a fucking strike on 2 buildings in a Pentagon and some other building here in the United States and carried it off with fucking military precision? You've got to be kidding me. If you are the American public and you believe that, I feel sorry for you, you stupid motherfucker. You know?
Couldn't you make a
And you
great
deserve-
Disney villain
hey,
off of him?
And if, what was it? Who said that? Give me a second. What was it about the freedom and the liberty?
Oh,
Please.
if you trade a little freedom for security, then you deserve neither. That's
Thank
the
you.
paraphrase.
Thank you. That's the paraphrase. And that's what I was looking for. And they don't deserve either.
Yeah.
You know, if you're not willing to stand up for the rights that this country was founded on, say hello to FEMA, buddy.
Yeah, go to the
Yeah,
FEMA
or
camp.
China.
Yeah.
You know.
Or-
People don't realize the instability,
Whatever.
though. They don't realize, like, their rights are unalienable. They're undeniable. You can't take them away.
Oh,
you
you
can take
wanna
them
bet?
away.
We
wanna
love
bet?
our beautiful
hands behind your back.
United States of American rights.
Our imaginary
Because-
rights.
You know,
Right, and we're not going to call ourselves American anymore because we're not North American, we're not South American, and we're not Central American.
We're not the American
We're
continent.
from the United States of America,
mm-hmm.
and that doesn't represent all of America.
Yeah.
That's
No, I
something
agree.
that, yeah.
Well,
Yeah, that we-
Americans are only divided
are
in the fact
concerned
that a lot of
about-
them have been brainwashed.
Yeah.
They've been brainwashed by the media. They've been brainwashed by watching too many years of television. They've been brainwashed by
coming.
watching fucking reality TV. You want to see reality
Oh,
TV?
God.
Thanks for tuning in.
Fluoride.
Right.
Yeah.
Reality. This is
Yeah.
real.
If I could broadcast on a 24-hour basis, I'm sorry, make that 18 hours because I need to sleep once in a while.
Real.
I would
I need to
broadcast.
sleep.
I see
I-
police officers all the time doing shit they
You're
shouldn't
real,
be doing, and I
Odessa.
just can't have my cameras
Real.
and broadcast service on me at all times. But
No, seriously,
I
guys.
digress.
I need to sleep. I have to go. I have to
You
go.
have school tomorrow.
I have
They make
indoctrination by the
school.
state tomorrow. I
Odessa,
have
thank
to
you
go.
for coming and joining us. I
Alright.
appreciate it. Namaste. You have a good evening. We'll see you tomorrow.
I'll move over.
I'll check out the door you painted later. All right.
Yeah.
So we had some artwork going on, or well,
Yeah.
Odessa had some artwork going on.
Totally excited about our.
What else did you have on that
youth
list?
Being involved.
Because I'd really like to get to several more of those topics. And I mean,
Right
you've
after
got a
Dr.
list
Ray.
like this long. You know, I mean, he wrote them down. I keep them up here.
Well, I mean, like, we talk about Bohemian Grove quite a bit. and
Right.
What that means. Bohemian Grove, Bilderberg, these people, they are not Christians. They are not Muslim.
Mhm.
They are not Jewish. They are not any of these religions they portray. These guys, they believe in a weird mystery
Are they
cult.
Satanists or are they mystery cult?
Mystery cult.
So we're not quite sure what they believe in.
Yeah, I mean, it's like Masonic things.
hmm
And,
Oh, so they're Freemasons?
it's very, very closely related. You
Can
got
we
the
just
Bil-
call them Illuminati?
Yeah, they're Illuminati. Yeah.
All right.
So,
well, can you just give off a few topics here? I'd like to archive real quick, and so the viewers will know what we're going to be coming back to in 15 minutes. We need to have a cigarette break. It's been another hour plus, and we'll do one more hour. Is that all right with you?
yeah, that's fine.
Okay,
I'll
so
write
it's a
down
late
some
night
more.
for us. It's 11:15. We'll be back in 15 minutes. Go ahead and read off that list of general topics that we'd like to get to.
Yeah, the perversion of religion through these people.
Okay?
The fact that this has been put into place for thousands of years.
Thousands of years,
The religious structure.
right?
So
Does that go back to Egyptian days?
yeah, I mean that's where the
Thousands.
that's where the
Thousands.
Masonic that's where the Masonic
We're talking 5,000 years.
that's
Talking Jesus
Beyond Jesus.
Bef-
yeah.
or before.
So what
We're
else?
talking about Akhenaten. Well, we can go back to the fact that guns were a topic we were trying to talk about. and
Right.
We went on.
We digress.
It's fine. It's
Uh-huh.
Then we can. I really want to go back to fluoride too and explain
Okay.
where that comes from and why it's a toxin.
Okay. Well, I know from discussions with you that you're very intelligent, you're very well studied, and when we come back, we will get to those topics,
Okay.
topics of your priority.
Okay.
So check back in about 15 minutes or just stay tuned, and when I come back live, you will be notified. Thanks for tuning in. Peace and love. Occupy One Liberty signing out from OccupySFTV here at the Firewall community in Oklahoma. Peace.